Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Holiness, the Dalai Lama.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Feisgur Ma. My name is Amy McCann, and it is my pleasure, on behalf of the Highland Council, to welcome you to Eden Court Theatre, whether here in the Empire Theatre or amongst the hundreds of others in the One Touch Theatre or the 2 cinemas inside this complex. The reason that so many of us are here today is to have the opportunity to meet and listen to one of the great spiritual leaders of our time, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. You are most welcome here, Your Holiness. Being given the chance to meet His Holiness is not only a tremendous honour, but is the pinnacle of my year studying religious, moral and philosophical studies at Nairn Academy. The philosophy of Buddhism was very rewarding to study, and I have gained insight into some of the philosophical background that shapes the thoughts and actions of His Holiness. I am sure I speak for many of the young people on the stage today who have also undertaken the study of Buddhism in religious, moral and philosophical studies, that it has stimulated our thinking, not only about the Buddhist view on many issues, but just as importantly, how we engage in the future in making a difference in society. His Holiness is indeed a fascinating man. He brings an inspiring message of non-violence, compassion, and universal responsibility. He has truly made an impact on our world, evidenced by our presence here, that he has instilled within us a challenge to contribute to the change that will make the world a better place. Ladies and gentlemen, young students of the Highlands, it is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, to address us on a theme of Be the Change. Thank you, Your Holiness.
I might read. I might read this one. Brothers and sisters, now this last of the engagement in this country, in UK, and now this ended now in Scotland. I think firstly, last few days in England and also Scotland here, I had sort of many occasions meet with public. I always feel, consider human contact is very essential. Basically, you and myself, same human being, no differences. I always make clear, emotionally, mentally, physically, we are same. And more important, everybody want happy life, do not want suffering. And everybody, from birth, we have right to achieve happy life. We have every right to overcome problem, suffering. On that level, 7 billion human beings, it's completely same. So now, question is, how to achieve happy life? And in spite of some problems, how can preserve, maintain our peace of mind? So perhaps I'm nothing special, same human being. But perhaps I think a person whose age now nearly 77, and also at age 14 lost freedom. At age 24 lost my own country. Then over 53 years, a lot of problems. And particularly news from home, always, most cases, very sad. But life, such sort of difficult life, it is possible to keep a peace of mind. Of course, best thing is, please you investigate my mental state. I think you cannot sort of see my mental state, but you can feel what kind of my mental state is reflection from my face. I think many years ago, I think Barcelona. I met one Catholic monk. I was told
Montserrat
Monastery. I was told that monk, Catholic monk, spent 5 years in a mountain behind that monastery. 5 years.
As a hermit.
As a hermit. There's a very little hot meal, just bread and tea, like that. So he came to see me, and then I already informed my organizer about his sort of story. Then actually when I met, I asked him, 5 years, I was told, you see, 5 years in hermit life, you should remain in the mountain. So what kind of practice? Then he mentioned practice of love. When he mentioned that, on his face, in his eyes, some kind of sort of very positive sort of expression. So like that, I think you can read some extent about my mental state. Then more important, my doctors, of course now getting older, it's a precaution sort of measure, annually getting some sort of medical checkup. So the doctors, now, for example, they May this year, another sort of medical checkup in America, Mayo Hospital. So since I started the sort of medical checkup in that hospital, now this is 7th time. So the doctors have told me, last 7 years, my physical condition, not much change, still same. So they expressed to me some kind of congratulation like that. So then, my life, just ordinary way, like that. Of course, no dinner as a Buddhist monk. So that's quite helpful to reduce my sort of stomach. but still, you see, the doctor advised me my weight should reduce another 2-3 kgs. Kilo, like that. So usually should be around 73 or 72, but my 76. So they say should reduce. So in any way, you see, through my own experience, I convinced, you see, calm mind, peaceful mind, can maintain in spite difficult life. In 6 days, this is some refugee from China. It's the same sort of under same situation, they become refugee. When we talk, so there are sort of anger, grievance, very, very tense,
resentment,
very strong. Compare them, us more calm, like that. I think that Tibetan culture, usually I describe culture of compassion, culture of non-violence. I think it makes some differences. Of course, that does not mean every Tibetan like that. One example. There's one occasion I met one Tibetan. I asked him, do you feel anger towards Chinese communists? Before his answer come, his cheeks already, you see,
twitching.
Oh, and his face become red. Then he say, oh yes, very much. Oh, sorry, they're too hot now. So therefore, everybody have the potential, you see, to keep peace of mind. That I think we can do. So whenever I have the opportunity meeting with people, I share, you see, how to keep our peace of mind. Simple. If you have religious faith, and then the teaching of compassion, love, tolerance, forgiveness, these are all major religious traditions, you see, carry this message. So if you sincerely practice that, then all major religions have same potential. Then, usually, my sort of the way to talk people, irrespective whether a believer or non-believer, See, we have common sort of the potential, which from birth everybody have. That we are, firstly, social animal. Secondly, where our life start, our mother's sort of care is a very important sort of factor. Not only in human being, but also other animals like dogs or cats. We observed. This is some also there, I don't know, the children of dog. I don't know a proper word or no, I don't know. You see, even before I open, they, you see, trying to find the mother's kasadi. What is this?
Nipples. Nipples.
Nipples. Once you see, they find that one, and then shows very happy, like that. So that's where our life starts. We are similar mammals, which, you see, their survival entirely depend on someone else's care. Most cases, mother. Even birds, the mother, such a sort of the sense of sort of concern about their young children. I noticed some cases, the mother, you see, in order to save or protect their children, their youngster, mother willing to face danger of her own life. This does not come from religion, but come from biological factor. So we also saying, everybody is born from mother. Sometimes in Indian tradition, you see some great sort of saint or
Great saints.
Saints, you see, born from lotus. So sometimes I jokingly tell him, oh, those saints, of course, marvelous. Their birth from lotus, wonderful. But they may have more compassion towards lotus rather than human being. So from that viewpoint, we are quite fortunate. So we come from our mother. So we have some kind of capacity to show affection to same human being, isn't it? Like that. So therefore, we all have the same potential. I think experience at that young age sort of time, we received sort of maximum affection from our mother, from our friends, or also father. That experience really absorbed in our every sort of cells of our body. So result, obviously, person who is surrounded by human affections, not only much happier, but physically also much healthier. Person may be very rich, very powerful, but lack of affection in their home or in their sort of community, suspect, jealousy each other, distrust. That mental attitude not only destroy their happy mind, peace of mind, but also their health eventually ruin. So the experience which we received at the time, just after birth, then next is a few years, that really makes differences of our whole life. I think those people who really, you see, carry some sort of, or say, awful sort of destructive actions, I think if we carry some investigation in their life, I think in most cases, such people at the at the beginning of their life, at a young age, may be lacking affection, surroundings, family. So deep inside, some kind of frustrations, some kind of distance from other. Then such people who have such mental state easily manipulate like that. So we all have the same potential. So the point is, we usually these things take for granted, not much pay attention. That's, I think, I consider my sort of duty to remind people, you have precious things already there. Now pay more attention about that. That way your life become more happier. Your mind can maintain more calm mind. Calm mind is very essential. Both fields. Good health, then our intelligence, in order to utilize or in order to become effective, calm mind is very important. Once your mind too much sort of polluted, agitation like that, or too much attachment, then our wisdom, our intelligence cannot see the object objectively, because emotion too much sort of one-sided. Negative, hatred, anger, suspicion, or too much attachment. So with that level of mental state, you can't carry, you cannot sort of function properly about potential of intelligence. So, two things. The calm mind brings your healthy body. Calm minds see things more realistically, objectively. So, now question, how to develop calm mind? Calm mind out of fear, impossible. Calm mind out of too much sort of anger, too much attachment, impossible. Then calm mind actually very much related with self-confidence. Self-confidence, there are two kinds. Blind self-confidence, over self-confidence, unrealistic sort of self-confidence. That is dangerous. But self-confidence on proper sort of basis, that's very necessary in order to develop calm mind. Now, how to develop self-confidence proper way? Usually, fear mainly comes from others.
In relation to others.
In relation with others, to others. And anger. Occasionally, sometimes angry oneself. That also has happened. Sometimes there's some important thing, forget, then say, oh, I forget that. That's not much serious. Okay, sometimes it happens. But mainly, it's real anger comes to us, mainly as a sort of community, as a community member. That also unknown people, we not sort of develop angry to unknown people, but only those people who often you see meeting. So therefore, when we develop sense of concern of their well-being develop, then the very basis of anger is no longer there. You're really cherishing them. So even if it's a small sort of disagreement, small sort of causing irritation, but on the superficial level or intellectual level, yes, he done something bad, or she done something bad to me, like that. But deeper emotional level, not much disturbed. Still, you see, they are part of our community, part of me, part of we. My future depends on them. I should be more concerned about their well-being. Then the anger, attachment, these things much sort of, the intensity much reduced. Clear. That's the way to develop self-confidence. And through that way, then you see, no basis of fear, no basis of
Distrust.
distrust, these things. And then, since you respect others, since you consider others also part of me, part of we, then you can deal with them honest, truthful, transparent. So that brings self-confidence. That reduces suspicion, distrust. So that's why develop calm mind. Like that. So my own life, I think last over now almost 60 years, I had sort of experience meeting with a variety of people and watching a lot of sort of world event. Then my conclusion is, and many other also have the same view, modern life very much oriented about consumerism, and very much materialistic sort of oriented. Our way of life, very much materialistic sort of culture, like that. Our very education system itself is very much materialistic oriented. I think that's something we have to pay more attention, seriously. Now, reason, simple. The goal, happiness, which we want, there are two levels. One level, happiness, satisfaction, through sensorial experiences, seeing something nice, get some satisfaction. Hearing some music or some songs like that, nice sound, you feel happy, satisfaction. A good smell, good taste, and good touch. So, all these satisfaction entirely depend on sensorial experiences. That's not long-lasting. So long music there, feel happy. Music stop or disrupt. Sometimes you feel angry. Seeing something good. So long that seeing there, you get some kind of satisfaction, happy. But then no longer there, again, you say no. So, mental level sort of experience is more serious than physical level experiences. That's quite clear. Person who have sort of all the facilities for physical comfort, that comfort cannot subdue or reduce mental worry, mental sadness. Other hand, mentally happy and satisfied, then physical difficulties can subdue. I think two patients, same illness, same hospital, get same treatment, but one mentally is awful, on top of physical sort of pain, mentally too much sort of disturbed. And the other one, physical, same illness, same pain, but mentally, even you should consider that physical illness has some meaning, some kind of mentally, it's a different sort of attitude, different view. The same person, same pain, but who have some sort of mentally, which is a different view, is much less mental disturbances. Very clear. So therefore, through our own experience, we can say mental level experience are more serious, more sort of important than physical level. So now, question, how can develop? What is the way to develop mental level satisfaction? Money? No. Power? No. I think physical level, you see, you have money, you see, you can buy every good things, and seeing something nice, or good building, good facility, everything, good garden, everything. Now here in Scotland, this part, you see, you have such a wonderful flowers, which I love so much. Lupin, wonderful, wild. Yeah. And then what you call foxglove, wonderful. And then some different sort of bushes, which very colorful sort of flower. So, a wealthy person, yes, you can decorate this. But at the same time, if your happiness is relying on these things, then the flower broke, right? Or something happened. You may develop anger, right? Like that. So therefore, with money, external facilities, because of that,
You can create.
You can
create.
You can create. But mental level of happiness or satisfaction, money cannot do anything. Never produce. I think, so therefore, now scientists also, some well-known scientists, they found through their experiment peace of mind, mental peace, on the basis of some sort of training about practice of compassion. The physical condition much improved. They already carry some sort of experiment in America. Some university I know, they already sort of, I think last few years, they carry some experiment level. So before they start training of mind, blood pressure, and also the amount of stress, and different sort of way to test. Then after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, some kind of training, or some kind of training about thinking, more deeper understanding about compassion, these things. Then after 2-3 weeks, they again test. Blood pressure significantly reduced. Amount of stress reduced. So already, scientifically, this is some, of course, those sort of special sort of, those specialists, they carry seriously some sort of experiment, examine. So some significant sort of positive effect there. So therefore, training of mind, I think so far we completely sort of neglected about that. So now time comes, we have to think more about our inner value, mental level experiences. So for that reason, I think firstly, we should know more information about mind, about emotion. This is not a religious matter. Simply, like taking care about physical health, we have to know the physical sort of different
system.
what to say,
Systems of the body.
system of the body. Similarly, in order to shaping our mind more properly, we have to know more information about mind or emotion. Usually when we talk mind, it's something one single entity, not that. There are so many variety of mind or thought and emotion and different variety, different level. Level means some are grosser, some are deeper, some are deeper. For example, this very moment, mental sort of experience, sort of functioning with combination of sensorial consciousness. When we are dreaming, no longer sensorial sort of consciousness there, but mental level or activity is there. Then deep sleep, even that no longer, but certain deeper level of consciousness still there. So at the time of death, the sensorial or mental level, which entirely depend on our brain, that already sort of cease. But certain deeper level of consciousness or mind is still there. The indication, some people, not only Buddhist practitioner, but also some Christians, you say after death, the body, even you see centuries, still remain fresh. I was told. It happened like that. So scientifically, now not yet sort of find explanation, but they simply now carrying some sort of experiment in these sort of phenomena like that. So in any way, now time come, we have to pay more attention about our inner value. So that's why I usually categorize 7 billion human beings. One category belongs to 20th century. That means like my age. And some gentlemen here, we belongs 20th century, isn't it? Age, because of above 50, 60, 70, we belongs to 20th century. Then another category, these young, below 30, 20, or 15, you are the generation of 21st century. Now 20th century, gone. My beloved century, gone now. Then, if we analyze events in 20th century, marvelous things also there. I think the greatest human history, because of the century, most important century of human history. But meantime, that century becomes century of bloodshed, century of violence. Now, beginning of this 21st century, you see some sort of unhealthy things happen. These are symptoms of the past mistake or past negligence. I think generally, you see, everywhere, I think people's desire, peace, is really growing. I think many parts of the world, people, I think really fed up about violence. So then, peace will not bring just a slogan. I often tell him, genuine peace must come through inner peace. In emotional level, full of hatred, full of suspicion, full of, anger. How can develop peace? So genuine peace must start firstly from within. Then that also, when we talk world peace cannot materialize with some kind of resolution, like United Nations or the national level, will not. Peace must create by people. People. When we talk people, people means combination, right?
Yeah, collection.
A collection of individuals. So ultimately, peace must start from individual level. Individual, you should create inner peace. Then share with your family members. So develop peace, family level. Then 1 family, 10 family, 100 family, that way develop peace in the community. That's the way to start. I think all historical sort of figures, when they start works, firstly, one individual started initiative. So sometimes I also used to feel, oh, the problem is so huge, and me, just one person, I cannot do much. Then I feel, oh, each of us have the potential, make some contribution, and collectively work with certain clear aim. We can change our world. So, because, you see, this younger generation who belongs to the 21st century, the 21st century, only 11 years passed. The major portion of the century yet to come. So this is the beginning of the 21st century. So there is time. If the 21st century generation, if you start work, think more about inner value, and accordingly make more effort, I think later part of 21st century may be more, peaceful century. Whenever we face some problems, some disagreement, potential of conflict, keep in mind, they also human beings, human brothers, sisters, part of me. Through that way, deal these problems. That means dialogue, talk, not use force. So I often used to telling, 20th century becomes century of bloodshed. Now this 21st century should be century of dialogue. In order to carry dialogue, you need self-confidence, tremendous willpower. That I already mentioned. You see, some of these sort of mental qualities brings self-confidence, inner strength, and also respect the party or the group of people who have different views and different interests. These also human beings, essentially human beings, essentially a part of me. So, with understanding that, respect and take concern about their own interest. Through that way, meaningful dialogue can develop. So, the young people, please think more this line. Of course, as a young people, see, you naturally have some sort of fond about entertainment survey. Entertainment. But meantime, at least some portion of daily life, think about deeper level of human psychology, human mind, or these things. Do you agree? Recently, I met some Indian friend, including their children, quite youth, young, right? I think around 20 years. I just talk. I mentioned, the last few years, I never sort of opened my television box. Then there one young Indian, how can you spend time? So you see, their life, you see, unless you spend some time television looking there, you see, they, I think, feel some kind of boring. So he really, sincerely
So he genuinely looked really surprised and asked in earnest, in that case, how do you spend your time?
So I think then I usually see saying some of my past experience. One time in Berlin, my hotel, the room where I put by the organizer, the room, the direct sort of opposite side, the one I think hall. From outside, I can see different lights, blue, red, and green, changing like that. Then I can hear
disco lights, no?
Disco. I can hear, you see, like that. So, about late afternoon or late evening, about 6, 7, they very much sort of the activities like that. I can hear sound and also the light. And I slept. Then around midnight, I wake up, oh look, still going on. Then next morning, about 4, I already now got up. I started my sort of prayer. And look, still going on. Whole night, you see, they spend like that way. Of course, maybe, occasionally, maybe, okay. But I think too much of that, I think really spoiling your health, right? And your day, whole, you see, because of the 24 hours of life, I think then disturbed.
Routine.
The other day, I mentioned at night, God create time for sleep, rest. Daytime, God creates with sun, so because of the time for work, like that. So in any way, so in any way, too much sort of attraction about material value, and essentially, you see, completely relying on sensorial experiences, then almost we same sort of standard of animal just relying on their sensorial experiences. No human, no sort of intelligence. We have this marvelous intelligence. Our life should be something, something
more and something different.
Than animal. Otherwise, just relying on sensorial experience, they're animal. So we have this intelligence. So animals have no ability to change emotions. We have this marvelous intelligence. So through intelligence, through understanding, using intelligence, we can shaping our emotion different way. For example, anger, part of our life. But use our intelligence. How useful about anger? Physical health, mental health, no use. Even solving problem, no help. Without anger, we can take appropriate measure, effective measure like that. So therefore, intelligence is analyze the real value. Through that way, we can develop conviction. Now anger is no use. Even if dealing with difficult work, without anger, we can act more effective sort of ways like that. Then compassion. Biological factor of compassion, as I mentioned briefly, that animal also have. Now we, because of this intelligence, so with the help of intelligence, our sense of concern of others' well-being further develop. Animal only their friend side, their images of friend side. We human being, with help of human intelligence, our compassion can extend towards strangers and then finally even enemy. So that's only human being can do that because of this intelligence. So if we simply materialistic sort of life goes, then this intelligence remains not much use. So when we pay more attention about inner world, then our intelligence really become very useful and effective. So that I want to share with you. So now this is the beginning of 21st century. So positive result from your effort with your new vision, you may enjoy that result at a later part of 21st century. I will not see that, but doesn't matter. So I often see teasing you. After this life, I may go heaven or hell. Even from there, I will watch you, whether you are sincerely carrying sort of this work or not. I will watch you. So thank you. I think not only myself, but some gentlemen also, I think, accompany with me. So perhaps in heaven, we have some sort of nice sort of to drink like that. Thank you. Now some questions.
That was truly inspiring. Thank you, Your Holiness. I would love it if we could sit and talk, just the two of us, but I know that many of the young people here have questions that they want to ask. As you can imagine, we've got a huge amount of questions, and we'll try to cover as many as possible in the time available. The first question is a short one, but it's a big one, and it will be asked by Barry McLennan from Charleston Academy.
Your Holiness, what do you think makes people truly happy?
Yes. Yes, sir. Mainly, peace of mind. Usually, you see that some are sort of meeting with scientists. These days, we have some kind of slogan: healthy mind, healthy body. So, in order to develop healthy body, healthy mind is very crucial factor. Then even physical level, some difficulties, healthy mind really brings inner peace. Correct. So, more sort of calm mind, relax. Not much worry. Some tragedy there, but look at more wider way, then will not disturb much your mind. So in spite of difficult life, you can maintain peace of mind. That I consider the happy life. So that's our goal. Okay? Next question.
Thank you, Your Holiness. That question, in a range of variations, was the most popular question. Not surprisingly, given the topic of Your Holiness's address, the second most common question was to do with change. And to ask a question on this topic is Annie Coe from Dornoch Academy.
Your Holiness, managing change can be personally challenging. What are the strengths and skills we need to develop as young people to help manage change?
Can you read it a bit slower?
Managing change can be personally challenging. What are the strengths and skills we need to develop as young people to help us manage change?
I think basically the difficulties and obstacles bound to happen. But then much depends on our own attitude, right? Attitude towards this problem. If the problem appears when look from closely, from sort of narrow angle, that problem appears very serious, unbearable. Same problem, look from wider angle. Then same problem, but appears to your mind less sort of
unbearable. Less unbearable.
Less
unbearable.
Unbearable. Then also, again, use our intelligence. Look the problem from different angles. Now, for example, here, as I mentioned earlier, I lost my own country. If I look only that aspect, and then a lot of sort of worry, sadness. But that same event also, you see, brought different sort of opportunity for me. Meeting with variety of people, and people from different religious tradition, different religious field, different sort of field, professional field. So if I still remain in Lhasa, in Tibet, in Potala, I don't think the opportunity which today I have, I don't think it's more formal like that. So judging there, that sort of from different angles, then same effect also, you see, brought some new opportunity, good thing. So once you saw that, the worry which brings from one angle, right, that reduce. So I think every problem we can look from different angle. Then I think after all, the realistic thing is very important. Judge the problem, whether we have the opportunity to overcome that problem or not. Analyze thoroughly with calm mind. If the problem no way to overcome, then not much use too much worry, anger. If there's a way to overcome that problem, then no need sadness or anger, make effort. So these are very realistic approach, like that. So I think many emotions, destructive emotion, actually based on unrealistic appearances. One scientist, the scientist Murray, one psychologist, one American, Aaron Beck. You see, he once told me, when we develop anger towards, for example, one person, then the object which we feel angry, that appears very negative. But reality, the 90% of that negativeness is our own mental projection. He mentioned. So for example, when we develop anger, the object, something, or anger needs some kind of independent target. So that target, something solid, something independent, absolute. So when we try to sort of look different angle, as I mentioned earlier, then that solid, independent target becoming more unstable. So that's the way to reduce anger. So as that scientist just mentioned. So therefore, I think most cases, the destructive emotions are the way of approach with destructive emotion is always unrealistic, like that. So lacking, intellectual looking. Intelligence looks, try to see the reality, then anger reduce, like that. And then next question. So these things you should sort of carry, experiment. So when you are leisure time, let some sort of person or some sort of thing which you usually feel irritation or anger, then anger about developed, then try to look anger itself, observed. Sometimes I do that practice. When anger comes, watch anger itself. Then the problem is when negative emotion develop and the whole mind dominated by that emotion. So then, with help of intelligence, I say try to separate yourself and some part of your mind separate and then watch anger. Then intensity of anger automatically reduce. So we have this marvelous intelligence. We have that kind of ability to do that. Clear? So please let anger come and let your face become red and heart beating, stepping away. Then try to watch your anger. Sometimes quite interesting. Okay.
An interesting response, thank you. Forgiveness is a subject that is often discussed in religious, moral and philosophical studies courses and has prompted a question from Hannah McFarlane-Boer from Golspie High School.
Your Holiness, how important is it to forgive people who have done wrong in society?
Forgiveness looks like. Forgiveness and forgetfulness, different. Sometimes people have the sort of impression forgiveness means completely to forget. No. If you forget, then no basis of forgiveness. Clear? So, the forgiveness, real meaning of forgiveness is make distinction, actor, action. Like our own case, when we make confession. So at that moment, we make distinction, my wrong act and myself as an actor. So I realize such actors, such actions are wrong. So I feel regret. So we make distinction, wrong actions and actor. So similarly, we have the ability to make distinction, actor and action. So forgiveness towards actor, not their action. Clear? So due to their wrongdoing, anger develop. Then try to make distinction. The person, as a normal human being, actually in normal circumstances, he or she may not do this wrongdoing, but because of his or her own difficult emotions, he or she is doing this kind of action. So there is sort of sufficient reason, feel pity or feel concern. So towards the person, develop sense of concern of their well-being or sense of some kind of compassion. That is the real meaning of forgiveness. As far as the action is concerned, or say they take sort of advantage on you. You practice more compassionate sort of life. There's someone take advantage on that. That's wrong. Injustice. So as far as the unjust action is concerned, sometimes we need countermeasure. So towards the person, actor, practice of forgiveness. Towards the action is concerned, if necessary, appropriate action. That also in order to stop wrongdoing for long-term benefit for them, like that. Clear? Although you see the Kasota, little difficult, but more use intelligence, more sort of detailed sort of, because analyze. We can make that kind of, sort of distinction. Next.
We are now headed west to the Isle of Skye, and a question from Gaelic speaker Tanya MacDonald from Portree High School.
Kemer a buring do cheannerstin creature agus spiritual, an oikri a vrosnachid, gus barach ui a halting an an behe spiritual. Your Holiness, in what ways can religious and spiritual leaders encourage the younger generation to take more of an interest in spiritual life?
I think it is impossible or unrealistic if we try entire 7 billion human being become religious believer. That's impossible. I think within believer, there are people who one way, suppose, accept sort of spirituality, religious spirituality or spirituality with religious belief, but not very serious. So I often use teasing people who attend Sunday church service and close eye, looks very serious, but outside church, when you carry your usual life, not much concern about Bible says, or practice of forgiveness, no longer there, practice of sort of patience, no longer there, practice of self-discipline, not there. So these people, suppose religious people, religious believer, but not very serious. I think the religious leaders, I think worthwhile make more sort of realistic approach to such people. That means the religious concept must make relevant day-to-day life. For example, when we in many years ago, some occasion, I found, go to big shopping center, not necessarily buying something, but just to watch. So for example, when I saw some nice articles, and I get sort of feeling, oh, I want that, I want this, like that. Then second thought, you really need that? Then answer is no. So contentment. No. And also sometimes account how much money in my pocket. So that practical sort of practice like that. So therefore, desire or different sort of negative emotions, as a part of our mind, naturally come. Then remember the teaching of your own traditions, contentment, tolerance, forgiveness, self-discipline, these things. So I think the religious leader, I think, should make it relevant, should not sort of satisfy some Sunday sort of ceremony, these things. Buddhists also, Tibetan Buddhists also, you say it's not sufficient. Just you see, carry some rituals without knowing the meaning, and not making sort of relevant day-to-day life. Then not much sort of
Effect.
Not much effect. They carry something like tradition, not sort of serious sort of that, correct? Not seriousness or sincere like that. That I feel. Then majority or larger portion of humanity, not much serious about it, not only serious, but no interest about religion. Then we should, as I mentioned earlier, we should promote secular ethics, which in India, 1,000 years, that kind of tradition there. So according to Indian sort of secularism, respect not only all religions, but also non-believer. So secular ethics is irrespective whether believer or non-believer, a certain sort of principle, not harming other. If possible, serve, help others. If not, at least restrain harming. So with understanding, all Hawaiian people, the native people have very nice sort of saying, your blood is my blood, your bone is my bone. So that's wonderful. So that means your happiness, my happiness, your suffering, my suffering. So consider all as a one body. That's, I think, wonderful. Now we really need that kind of concept. Entire 7 million human being is part of me. Usually, you see, we have sort of strong sort of emphasis, we and they. And then on that level, the concept of war, violence happen, because destruction of them, victory of us. So now, that kind of sort of concept, not only morally wrong, but practically also now, today's world reality, entire different continent or southern world needs northern world needs southern world, east and west, so on like that. So really, I think in economy field, environment field, I think the world become just one. Therefore, now the century-old concept of we and they is no longer relevant. So we must develop the sense of oneness of entire humanity. Then the demarcation, we and they, reduce. I think many problems which we are facing is actually we emphasize secondary level of differences, different religious faith, different nationality, different color, within same religious believer and same color, rich and poor, like that. So, since a lot of man-made problem due to too much emphasis on the secondary level of differences, now we must go to basic level, oneness of humanity. That I think very important. When I give you talk, when I meet you, if I feel, I sort of keep some kind of feeling, I am Tibetan, I am Buddhist, then that mental state itself, distance from you. Forget that I'm just one human being. The way my birth, right? The way your birth, same. The way finally death will be same. Sometimes I jokingly half sort of serious when we're passing through a cemetery, right? Cemeteries, there are a lot of sort of cemeteries. That's our final destination. we have to go there. Rich or poor, powerful or also the poor, everybody, young. So eventually you also have to go there. So nobody can escape. Even Buddha, from Buddhist viewpoint, Buddha also, you see, went that way. Jesus Christ also went that way. Muhammad also, you see, that way. So therefore, it is our, whether we like it or not, it is our final destination. So when that destination is reached there, money, no use. Fame, no use. Power, no use. Weapon, no use. What thing bring us tranquility at that moment? Our life spent, meaningful life, serving, helping other, not harming other. Then, at that moment, feel very happy. That's very important.
Tanya asked her question first in Gaelic, the native language of Scotland. Your Holiness, I would like to ask, how important to countries is it that they retain their indigenous minority languages?
That's difficult. It's a difficult subject. I noticed in America, recently I was in San Diego. So within San Diego, this state, California, or Southern California. See, there they mentioned major three group or something. Tribes. They also have different language. So some sort of community with their own different language, number 2,000, 3,000. Then very difficult to preserve using these sort of language. Difficult. I don't know. And the language with script, much better. So some occasion in Chile, some indigenous people, they came to see, their representative came to see me, and they are very much concerned about their preservation of their own identity in their own language. Then I told them, you should develop script, writing system. Then, see, your language can preserve more sort of effectively. Just verbal way, difficult. So therefore, I don't know, I think several thousand different languages on this planet. I think so each community's viewpoint, it is absolutely important to preserve that. And realistically speaking, I don't know. That's very difficult. That's very difficult. So sometimes I express, eventually world use one language, then most probably your language, English language. Whether Scottish accent or English accent or American accent, that is different, or Australian accent, you see, different accent, but one sort of language, English language. I think now already world language like that. So if you see time come, everywhere you see use English, and then I have no difficulties. It's okay. Up to certain sort of period, each people, like Tibetan, we have every right to preserve our own language, our own script, writing system. One is the world becomes something like that, then so no objection, okay, like that. That's my view. But I don't know. this is, cannot represent, you see, every people's sort of view. This is my own view. So I use my freedom of expression, like that I express. Yes, next question.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Just in case Your Holiness thinks it's only the girls who ask questions in the Highlands, Cameron Fraser from Inverness High School has a question on preparing for the future.
Your Holiness, what advice would you give to young people today who are about to start out in the world and who, one day, may be in a position of influence on future leaders?
Kamsa. That also, I think, different profession field is some little different sort of way.
Can you repeat the first part of the question?
What advice would you give to young people today?
I think all activities, all different sort of fields or professions are meant for humanity. And all are human activities. Therefore, every human activities is ultimately related with motivation. So, sincere motivation, or compassionate motivation, sense of concern of well-being of others, or more sort of global level, or more holistic way, that's, I think, most important sort of part of our sort of motivation. I think that we can say, but then detail some different sort of field, different professions. I think as far as I know, like education and health, I think directly related with a sense of compassion, like that. And then other field also, I think scientific research, directly, not much related with that, but long run, yes, certainly related with compassion. And then business, directly, not much. But here, business, the Marxist sort of business economic theory, this is talking the concern of equal distribution. That I consider moral principle. Whereas capitalism, not talking that, only profit. However, time passes, capitalism with certain sort of regulations or rules, and then also you see, the freedom of press, free press, or these things. I think there is a lot of things to check. Whereas the Marxism, unfortunately, eventually become totalitarian system. So, no other sort of check. So, one of my friend, Nobel laureate, I cannot mention his name, but he's socialist. So, usually in the past, usually you see he very favor about People's Republic of China, because socialist country. And recently I met, another occasion, I asked him, what do you think now China as a socialist country or not? And without hesitation he says, no longer socialist country, capitalist country, totalitarian system. He mentioned that. So now, like that, so is it almost as opposition? Opposite. So, in economy field also, like recent sort of economy crisis, out of my curiosity, I really surprised, you see, the economic sort of crisis, global economic crisis. Because you see, those people involved in economy field, I think they not only daytime, but even they are dreaming. I think may dream about economy like that. So they are expert. Then experts, you see, made mistake. How? Difficult to understand. So out of my curiosity, I asked some sort of specialist, some businessman. Then they say greed is one factor. Greed. And perhaps I think add short-sighted and the immediate sort of interest. Forget or neglect about long-term consequences and holistic view. Then speculation. That means without knowing properly, but just to create speculation. So ignorance also there. So my friend used to mention that. So therefore, even economic crisis also, you see, long, because ultimately related with human mind, human emotions. So therefore, and then in order to carry a successful economy, so business work, the employer, employees, trust, respect each other, much successful. Just exploit employees. Then it's difficult. So moral principle also is related with that. So I think every human, then politics also, or international relations, all these, interest for short term and neglect about long term interest, and then always some sort of problems happen. So we must stand firmly on moral principle, honest, truthful, transparent. These are the basis of trust, basis of respect. So therefore, I think every human activity is ultimately related with because of the moral principles. That's my view.
Carrying on from your response, Your Holiness, the Highland Youth Voice are the elected representatives of young people in the Highlands, and our youth convener, Stuart Davidson, formerly of my own school, Nairn Academy, who has asked many questions on our behalf throughout the past year, is here in the front row. I'm sure he is enjoying your responses immensely. On stage with a question today, however, is Lewis McKinnon from Wick.
Your Holiness, Mahatma Gandhi, the renowned Indian leader, coined the phrase, "Be the change you like to see in the world." What is your view of Mahatma Gandhi?
Yes, I never met Mahatma Gandhi, but in dream I met Mahatma Gandhi. And I think late for maybe late 40s like that. But of course, I'm one of the admirers of him. Oh, great. And Kasari. As I already mentioned, the change must start from individual level, as I already mentioned. One person, sort of start from one person, then 10%, 100%, 1,000%, 100,000%, like that. Mahatma Gandhi, really, I think, great thinker. And he also sort of great, I think, practitioner. What he tell other people, he himself implement. That's wonderful. One I remember impressed was she thoroughly educated, modern education, and doctor's degree.
Level.
But after he returned India, his dress looks like very, very ordinary Indians. So wonderful. Some Indian leaders, Gandhian, not like that. So Mahatma Gandhi, I think, really wonderful. So his sort of determination, very, very strong. Sometimes some people, some Indians say, Mahatma Gandhi, in some cases, a little bit disturbance. They say like that. I don't know. Next question.
Thank you very much, Your Holiness, for your thought-provoking and inspiring responses. I know we could be here for much longer asking questions, but all good things have to come to an end, and unfortunately we have no more time. I know the young people here will be thrilled to have been given the opportunity to ask you their own questions, and I thank them for the range of thoughtful questions they have produced. I know the audience will have found your responses very interesting, and I once again thank you sincerely for answering so readily and comprehensively. Your Holiness has given us a positive, motivating message that we can be the change that we want to see in the world.
Okay, no questions? I say. Okay. So then, lastly, this as I mentioned earlier, last sort of engagement here. Now, I'm leaving early tomorrow morning to Italy, a few days in Italy, and then go back to India. So, my problem with me always, wherever I go. So your problem also with you. So you have to sort of find ways and means to solve that problem. And it is your own business. Try to keep your peace of mind. So if you find some sort of point, something possibly some useful to your sort of daily life, then think more, and make experiment, as I mentioned earlier, you see, like anger, like that, experiment. Then use our common sense, our intelligence. Through that way, you gain more experience. And more experience, your mind will become more calm. You see, too much excitement, you see, too much ferocity, because of that.
Discouraged.
Discouraged.
Sad.
Too much sensitivity. Right? Then sometimes, you see, due to little causes and too much ups and downs, we must keep some kind of sound, sort of solid
steady
insight.
Steady mind.
Steady mind. That's important. So, that's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Scotland has given many gifts to the world, but the best known is a song of friendship, sung as people part and vow to meet again. Your Holiness, I am sure you will enjoy this slice of Scottish heritage, so I welcome singer Peter Kelly to the stage. Thank you.
The Puritans we forgot and never brought a mind. Should old acquaintance be forgot for old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup o' kindness yet for old lang syne. Surely he'll be your pine stoop, and surely I'll be mine. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. Here's a hand, my trusty friend, and here's a hand that I will take a record really whack for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne.
good one.
Thank you.
So, bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Wonderful. Really wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.